Hi, I'm Michael Stiddle.
And I'm Nik Nanos.
Nick, we made it to the final week. I can't believe we got here so fast. It seems like a weirdly fast election. I mean, I know it's a short one, but still.
A week ago. No, in a week, 7 days, it'll be election day. Seven more sleeps and we'll be there. And I don't know. I think Michael, you're looking pretty good. I've survived, but
Thank you.
the plants are still. I see your plants are still.
The plants
alive,
in my
so.
background still going strong. Yeah. Let's get to it. I mean, where are we now? What are the national numbers?
Still pretty tight between the Liberals and the Conservatives. The latest CTV Globe Nanos tracking has the Liberals at 33.2, Conservatives 30.2, NDP 18.6, Bloc 6.8, People's Party 6.6, Green Party 3.8. So factoring the margin of error, it's still a statistical tie. I know it shows the Liberals numerically ahead, but it's still very close between the Liberals and the Conservatives. Toss up right now.
Wow. So just sort of like a nail biter into the last week, and the Liberals did sort of recover early on, and they have maintained this slight lead, especially after the debates. Is it the debates, Nick, or what's driving that?
Well, I think there's a little bit of an uptick for the Liberals, and you can see a little bit of a downtick marginally for the New Democrats. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the now that the debate's behind us. Like, the debate is usually only a 2 or 3 day phenomenon. And then we get into whatever the closing week of the campaign, what the big ballot issue and the focus will be.
What about the preferred PM numbers?
Well, the preferred PM numbers shows that about 33% of Canadians would prefer Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister, 28% Aaron O'Toole, Jagmeet Singh at 16%, undecided at 10.6, Bernier 6.0, Blanchette 3.5, and Annamie Paul, the leader of the Green Party, at 2.6.
Oh, so one thing I see there is that Jagmeet Singh's number has gone down, and the number of undecideds has gone down as well.
Exactly. So the undecided at 10.6 is the lowest that we've seen in the campaign, and it's quite low. That's so I don't know whether it'll go down any lower, because there's still some people that are naturally undecided. But the big and interesting thing is the trend line for Jagmeet Singh in the last 4 nights of the tracking. You can see incremental but steady decline over the last 4 nights coming out of the English debate. And the other thing is that Justin Trudeau has an advantage that's outside of the margin of error, because it's about 5 points. Margin of error is plus or minus 2.8. So it's just a little outside of the margin of error for the survey, but not a big lead for Justin Trudeau. So I think the one definitive trend in the last 4 days is Jagmeet Singh. And the big question, Michael, is that a leading indicator that some New Democrats might swing to the Liberals? Too early to tell, but it's not like, for people that are supporting the New Democrats, it's not like one day they support the New Democrats and another day they support another party. It's like usually the leader numbers start to move a little bit first. So Singh should be a little worried about his numbers declining, because it may suggest that some of his support might decline perhaps later this week, but it's too early to tell.
So what do you think's driving that, Nick? We're coming out of the debates, but also the NDP has released their costed platform as well.
I think a number of things. So first of all, Singh's been a consistent, when you look at the trend line, it's very consistent for him throughout most of the campaign. And this decline is only in the last 4 days, coincidental with the leaders debate. I thought he had a solid performance in the leaders debate, but we've just learned about the NDP platform, and not a big surprise. It's a very progressive platform. It's big government. It wants to help as many Canadians as possible. But within the context of, for the other 2 parties, the Liberals and the Conservatives, they're still spending more money. And now the New Democrats with their platform wants to outspend both the Liberals and the Conservatives. And we'll see in a couple nights whether perhaps people aren't hot on that much of a deficit and that much of an increase in spending.
I think, yeah, the headline was something like $214 billion over 5 years, which was much higher than the Liberals, which is 70 something, and the Conservatives, depending on who you ask, probably about the same amount of money.
Exactly. So it's just too much of a difference. It also speaks to, Michael, the strategy of the Conservatives. The strategy of the Conservatives is not really to differentiate themselves in terms of the deficit from the Liberals. That's probably to attract what I'll say, blue Liberal supporters who kind of see a similar approach. So the Conservative strategy is to not make the deficit an issue and spending an issue, to make sure that Canadians don't think that they're going to cut, while the NDP support is to differentiate itself from the other two frontline parties by spending more money. So two fundamentally different strategies on the platform, budgeting, and deficit front.
So one more week to go, Nick. Why don't we go through the parties and just see kind of what strategy we should be looking for? So why don't we start with Liberal leader Justin Trudeau?
And I think before we do the walkthrough, I'd like to say this is white knuckle week in the campaign, right? The white knuckles. Actually, white knuckles, not just for the campaign leaders, but for pollsters. Yeah. So Justin Trudeau, the thing this week, it's going to be interesting to see how he manages it and how it pans out. Will be probably answering questions about Jody Wilson-Raybould and her book that's come out, and what happened, what could happen, the role of the RCMP, what he would like to do, and what he believes he said, and Jody Wilson-Raybould's interpretation of the pressure that she felt she was under. So I think this is going to be the issue that probably dogs Trudeau at every single event that he has. So how about this for prediction? Every event, there'll be a question about Jody Wilson-Raybould, and then you'll watch the body language of the of Justin Trudeau either kind of stiffen up or kind of do that awkward twitch that he sometimes does. So that'll be it for him. And then expect him to demonize the blue team, right? To view the fear that, the Liberals, they save the heavy fear cards to the very end. But, they'll talk about, if Aaron O'Toole becomes prime minister, that dogs and cats will start living together, and it'll be that kind of stuff, kind of the usual fear mongering. So so Trudeau will be two things: Jody Wilson-Raybould and fear mongering for the Conservatives. We'll see what cuts through.
She's really come back in Jody Wilson-Raybould in a strong way in this last weekend. I was actually watching Trudeau press event yesterday, Nick, and he was directly asked, did the RCMP ever personally contact you over SNC-Lavalin? And he said no. But I mean, just being asked that question, it just seems like he can't escape it right now.
Exactly. It's kind of like the protesters, not able to, he's been dealing with the protesters. Now he's got to deal with questions related to Jody Wilson-Raybould. And, the thing is my sense of this issue is that for some Canadians, it reinforces views that they already have and will fire them up. For other Canadians, they're going to look at the timing and go, okay, so you release a book the last week before the vote. Obviously, we know what you're trying to accomplish because you've been on the record saying that you do not believe that Justin Trudeau should be prime minister, and this is your effort to do that. So there's lots of people that are fired up about this and have formed opinions. I don't think there are people that are wishy-washy on this one.
No. And now Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole, as you said, he basically has all this incoming attacks from the Liberal Party. They're bringing out their fear cards. So what does he have to do this week?
Well, the thing is that Aaron O'Toole is still in the game. Conservative minority government is still within the realm of possibility, as is the Liberal minority government. And his story during this campaign has been the most dramatic change in the numbers, and that's been his personal brand. If you remember, Michael, back in August the 12th, he was at around 17.7% of Canadians that preferred him as prime minister. Now at 28, he's up a full 10 percentage points. He's more than doubled his score. So for Aaron O'Toole, the name of the game is going to be to look prime ministerial, A. B, not make a mistake. C, make sure his team does not make a mistake. And then to basically position himself as change that is not risky, because the Liberal strategy will try to portray Aaron O'Toole as risky change. So, and I think that speaks to his strategy during the debate. His strategy during the debate was stay just a little below the radar, get through without making any mistakes, smile a lot, be steady during the debate, and look ministerial. And I thought I thought Aaron O'Toole did a good job during the debate.
Unflappable, I would call him during the debates. I mean, very, very calm. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the discipline, and you know what? This has to go with his professional training, in the Canadian Armed Forces. Like, let's face it, discipline, focus, vision, a laser-like focus on the mission. His mission is to win this election, and he's focused on that, and he's very, very disciplined in his messaging and in his demeanor, but not in a way that is uncomfortable, or he still comes through as a nice person, and but very very disciplined, at least in his messaging.
How about NDP leader Jagmeet Singh?
So it's pretty clear Jagmeet Singh wants to run on his platform, and he's just costed it out his budget, and he wants to say that if he was prime minister, he would do more. And actually, the other thing that we should realize is that by putting out a platform that is spending much more money than the Liberals, he has now pre-positioned himself for the parliament, right? Because what he's going to do is to say, if we hold the balance of power, when I say we, I mean the New Democrats. If the New Democrats hold the balance of power, they will use it to get the Liberals to spend more money to help Canadians. So I think in the longer term, this is a clever strategy, because it suggests that if the Liberals win, or the Conservatives win for that matter, his job will be to get more for Canadians. The problem is, in the short term, will he get crushed in strategic voting, as it's happened in the last couple elections? And so it's a fine line that he has to walk between saying that he's going to be big spending and to advocate, regardless of whether it's a liberal conservative or liberal minority government, that he's going to advocate whether he's going to be taken off as an option, because people want to, at least progressive voters, we should say, want to keep the progressive liberal government in power.
And in Quebec, we've got Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet.
Yeah, you know what? The thing is that the Blanchet numbers have been up a bit, and the Bloc numbers have been up coming out of the debate. And so for the Bloc Québécois, it's going to be to drive home and be competitive with the Liberals in the province of Quebec. And our polling suggests that the island of Montreal remains a fortress for the Liberals by and large. But once you step off of the island of Montreal, it's actually very competitive between the Bloc and the Liberals. So we may see kind of, who knows, if this trend continues, there'll be like one red island and then a lot of blue outside of that island of Montreal when it looks at the Quebec numbers.
I was very curious, Nick, how coming out of the debate, that exchange with Trudeau and Blanchet about, you don't have a monopoly on what Quebec is, and I'm a Quebecer, and then we got into the Bill 21 stuff, how that would play out in Quebec.
Yeah, but the thing is that Blanchet had a solid performance in both the French and the English debate. His messaging is very clear, and even though it was the English debate, his message was for Quebecers that, he's not interested in being the prime minister. He's just focused on advocating for Quebec. And if there's not a lot of enthusiasm for a lot of the other parties, the Bloc is an easy default place for some voters to park.
Finally, we've got the People's Party of Canada, led by Maxime Bernier, and the Green Party, led by Annamie Paul.
Yeah, so why don't we go with Annamie Paul first? Those Green Party numbers still at 3.8 have to be disappointing, considering they were at 7.9 on August the 12th. Her preferred prime minister numbers at 2.6 is actually the lowest from all the federal party leaders. So it's been a difficult, I think the fact of the matter is, it's been a difficult election for Annamie Paul as the leader of the Green Party and for the Green Party. So it looks like in the best case scenario for Annamie Paul and the Green Party, they hold on to the 2 seats that they have in British Columbia, which it is possible to do, and that Annamie Paul somehow wins her riding in Toronto, and then for her to go through the process of rebuilding the party and kind of healing the party after a lot of the divisions that they've had. And Bernier, man, the guy wasn't in the debates, but you wouldn't know it looking at his numbers. We have the People's Party at 6.6, And 6% of Canadians would prefer that he be prime minister. And the big question is, will that be a spoiler for the Conservatives? So Bernier still a factor. And can he deliver on those polling numbers? We'll see how well organized and how motivated those People Party of Canada supporters are.
Great stuff. Nik, as always, thanks very much.
That was fun.
And where can we find you?
Find me on Twitter at Nik, Nik Nanos, or on the web, www.nanos.co.
And I'm also on Twitter at Michael Stiddle. You can also find more information about what Nik and I have discussed today, especially, the latest numbers at ctvnews.ca. Thanks very much for listening.